The world may have just witnessed one of the most important political meetings of this decade, not because two leaders simply shook hands, but because behind those smiles, behind the cameras, and behind the diplomatic language, something much bigger is happening. A new global economic system may already be forming, and most people still don't realize it. While the world was distracted by elections, inflation, wars, and financial uncertainty, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping met again with a message that was impossible to ignore. Russia and China are preparing for a future where they may no longer trust the Western-led global system. And if that happens, the impact could reach every country, every business, every oil market, and even your daily life. Because this is no longer just politics. This is about energy, trade, currencies, sanctions, technology, and control over the future global economy. For decades, the world operated under one dominant system. The United States controlled the global financial architecture. The dollar became the world's reserve currency. International trade flowed through Western banking systems. Global shipping routes were protected largely by American military power. And countries that challenged this order often faced sanctions, isolation, or economic pressure. But now, Russia and China appear to be preparing for a different future. A future where countries build parallel systems outside Western influence. And that possibility alone could reshape global economics for the next generation. The immediate trigger behind this growing partnership is obvious. Russia has been under massive Western sanctions since the Ukraine war. Those sanctions targeted banks, energy exports, technology imports, foreign reserves, and international financial access. The idea was simple: cut Russia from the global economy and eventually weaken its ability to continue operating. But something unexpected happened. Instead of collapsing completely, Russia turned east, toward China. And China stepped in carefully but strategically. Chinese companies increased exports to Russia. Chinese financial systems became more important for Russian trade. Russian oil began flowing heavily toward Asian markets. And suddenly, the sanctions that were designed to isolate Russia started creating an entirely different global structure. A structure where China became Russia's economic lifeline. But this relationship is not emotional friendship. It is strategic necessity. Russia needs buyers. China needs energy. Russia needs technology access. China needs geopolitical support against Western pressure. And together, they reduce each other's vulnerabilities. This is why the meeting between Putin and Xi matters far more than headlines suggest. Because the long-term implications go far beyond Russia and China alone. Let's start with energy. Energy is the bloodstream of the global economy. Factories run on it. Transportation depends on it. Military systems require it. Economic growth needs it. And whoever controls stable energy access controls enormous global influence. China understands this better than anyone. One of China's greatest vulnerabilities is geography. Much of China's imported oil and gas travels through dangerous maritime choke points, especially the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Malacca. If conflict erupts in those regions, China's economy could face serious disruption. Now, imagine this scenario. Tensions rise in the Middle East. Shipping routes become unsafe. Oil tankers slow down. Insurance prices explode. Global oil prices surge. What happens to China? This is where Russia becomes critically important. Russian energy can move directly through land pipelines. No vulnerable sea routes, no naval blockades, no dependence on unstable maritime corridors. That changes everything. Projects like Power of Siberia pipelines are not just energy projects. They are geopolitical insurance policies. China is essentially building a backup survival system for its economy, and Russia becomes the supplier. This also creates another major consequence. Europe lost much of its cheap Russian energy after the Ukraine war. But China may gain access to discounted Russian energy for years. Think carefully about what that means. Energy is one of the biggest costs in manufacturing. If Chinese factories receive cheaper energy while European industries pay higher prices, China gains a major competitive advantage. And this could slowly accelerate the shift of global industrial power further toward Asia. But the story becomes even bigger when we look at currencies. For decades, the US dollar dominated global trade. Oil is priced in dollars. International reserves are held in dollars. Global transactions often pass through dollar-based systems. This gives the United States enormous power. Because sanctions become extremely effective when the global financial system depends on your currency. Russia learned this the hard way, and China has been watching carefully. So now both countries are increasing trade using local currencies instead of dollars. The more countries begin doing this, the more the world slowly moves toward a multipolar financial system. Not overnight. Not suddenly, but gradually. And history shows that major economic shifts usually happen slowly at first, then all at once. This is why many economists are paying close attention. Because if enough countries begin trading outside dollar systems, global financial power could slowly become more decentralized. Now, let's discuss the military and strategic side. Russia remains one of the world's largest military powers. China remains one of the world's largest economic powers. Separately, each is powerful. Together, they create a serious geopolitical counterweight. This does not necessarily mean a formal military alliance like NATO, but it does mean coordination. And coordination alone can alter global calculations. For example, if the United States faces simultaneous tensions involving Russia in Europe and China in Asia, American strategic pressure becomes divided. That changes diplomacy, defense spending, military planning, trade decisions, and investment flows. Global investors hate uncertainty, and when uncertainty rises, markets react. This is why geopolitical shifts eventually become economic shifts. Now here's the part most ordinary people overlook. This new global division could directly affect inflation around the world. Why? Because globalization worked efficiently when countries trusted each other. Supply chains crossed continents smoothly. Energy moved predictably. Shipping routes stayed secure. Trade barriers remained relatively low. But in a divided world, countries prioritize security over efficiency. That means more local manufacturing, more duplication of supply chains, more strategic stockpiling, more defense spending, more economic fragmentation, and all of that costs money, which means the future global economy may become structurally more expensive. In simple words, the era of cheap globalization may slowly be ending. Now, let's talk about smaller countries. Countries like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Indonesia, and many African nations may increasingly benefit from balancing relations between both power blocs. Instead of depending entirely on one side, they may try to gain investment, trade and strategic advantages from multiple centers of power. This creates opportunities, but also risks. Because in a polarized world, neutrality becomes harder, and countries may eventually face pressure to align economically or strategically. Now here's the most important question. Is this partnership permanent? Not necessarily. China and Russia still have different ambitions. China is the stronger economic player. Russia increasingly depends on China more than China depends on Russia. That creates imbalance. And history shows that unequal partnerships can eventually create tensions. But for now, their interests align strongly enough to keep this relationship growing, especially while Western pressure continues. And this brings us to the biggest long-term implication of all. The world may be entering a new era where globalization no longer revolves around one uncontested center of power. Instead, multiple economic systems may emerge simultaneously. A Western-led system, a China-centered Asian system, regional trade blocs, alternative payment systems, new energy corridors. And the countries that adapt early may gain enormous advantages. Because the next global economic battle may not simply be about military power. It may be about who controls energy, manufacturing, technology, currencies, artificial intelligence, and supply chains. This is why the Putin-Xi meeting matters. Not because of symbolism, but because it signals that major powers are preparing for a future where economic survival matters more than ideological alignment. A future where countries no longer ask, "Who is our friend?" but instead ask, "Who will still trade with us during crisis, sanctions, war, and instability?" And that single question may define the next global era. Because what we are witnessing today may not simply be another diplomatic meeting. It may be the early foundation of a completely new world order,